12. You know, whilst the British were here, the Dutch were at Elmina. They used to attack each other. On one occasion, the Dutch came to attack the British, and during that attack, C.B. Whitehead, being army commander, lost his life. Yes. Married here, we have a lady by name Letitia Elizabeth London. Letitia Elizabeth London, a British journalist. She was the only white lady who came to this castle. As a matter of fact, Europeans were not coming along with their wives because of the tropical diseases. But then Letitia came here around 1838 to visit her husband, Captain George McLean. But then unfortunately for Letitia, 2 months after her arrival, she died. But then many schools of thought are of different views concerning what killed Letitia. Now, one school of thought is of the view that as of the time Letitia came to the castle, her husband, Captain George McLean, was having extra affair with a black woman called Miss Ellen Bannerman from Accra. A very beautiful, fantastic, romantic, unassuming, sexy, pretty, in fact, a complete Ghanaian woman, very beautiful, just like my sister here, very beautiful. And that out of jealousy, she poisoned herself. Another school of thought is of the view that it was Miss Ellen Bannerman who poisoned Letitia. It is also alleged that African mosquito killed her. But then as I speak to you, I don't really know what actually killed Letitia. But then she died at the age of 36, around 1838. So my sister, what do you think was the cause of Letitia's death?
Well, maybe the other woman.
Maybe the other woman poisoned her. My sister, what do you think?
She killed herself.
She killed herself.
No, she couldn't have killed herself.
I think it's probably tropical disease.
Yes, she was poisoned. My sister, what do you think? She killed herself.
Okay.
Boss, what do you think? My elder sister, what do you think? Anyway. Alright, the last one here, we have Captain George McLean, the husband of Letitia. You know, Captain was a Scottish. He was a Scottish. He was born on the 24th of February, 1801. In 1828, he became the president of the London Committee of Merchants. In 1830, he came to the coast as an administrator. In 1833, he enforced a law to abolish the slave trade. He established the first court of justice in West Africa. Up there where we have Maclean's Hall, that is where the court system in West Africa started. As he came, he learned about the values, the traditions, and the customs of the locals, and that he used to settle dispute among the locals. So that place was used as the first court of justice in West Africa. He was the architect of the Bond of 1844 that paved way for the British to colonize Gold Coast for 100 years. And that bond was signed between Commander Hill and 8 Bandy chiefs. Commander Hill was the first governor in the Gold Coast. He died at the age of 46, around 1847. Malaria called McLean. Cistern or reservoir. My wonderful guest, you and I know that water is life and that without water we can't survive. So this cistern was constructed for the captives. No, there wasn't any pipeline water in the country during those days. So it was harvested rainwater, harvested from the rooftop. Rainwater. Basically for cooking, scribing, drinking and what have you. But then the officials knew that it was not hygienic for them and that they were not drinking from this cistern. This was mainly for the captives. Yes. They had boreholes in town, so they used to fetch water from there. Right. It is 18 feet deep, 5 feet wide.
Where's the
We've
water
now
go
connected.
from?
We've now connected carbon water into it.
Oh.
So that is what we've used for painting and other renovation works in the castle. But then whenever there is water shortage in town, the locals around come here to fetch water. And that after the tour, each of you can fetch 1 bucket and take it home for free. Yes, for free. For free.
In the form.
John is very well practiced. Yes.
Yeah, we've been doing it almost every day, every hour. After we come, another batch will come. And we do the same thing together.
Yeah. Same questions.
Right, my wonderful brothers and sisters, we are now on top of the tunnel. I indicated that the tunnel was sealed when the trade was abolished. We are on top of it. We shall look at part of it very soon. But over here we have cannons. We have cannon walls over there for defending the castle. Because of the nature of the land, because gold was in abundance over here, gold was the king of all metals, and that gold business was very competitive. So Europeans were always fighting among themselves. I indicated that the Portuguese were the first to come here. They were defeated by the Swedish. Swedish were defeated by the Danes. Danes were defeated by the Dutch. Dutch were defeated by the British. So the British used these ammunitions to defend the castle. As soon as they saw pirates, one of the balls was fitted in each of the cannons. Gunpowder was added. Fire was set over here, and it exploded. On paper, one could travel as far as 1,000 meters. I'm giving you 120 seconds, 120 seconds. Take as many pictures as you can, and let's continue with the tour. 120 seconds.
Don't come and worry me. Don't come and worry me in there. I beg you in the name of God.
Pure metal. So if it hit you.
Yeah. That's a cannon too?
Yes.
Is it 1,000 meters?
This one, 500.
1,000. So how did they swivel at all? The cannon, could they move them?
There were wheels under them so that they could turn it around. But then because of because of the seat, they've all corroded. So we've used cement to replace them.
But okay, so you could angle them up and down and move them.
All right, let's continue. You can take as many pictures as you can after the tour, and in course of the tour, you can take pictures. We're going to look at part of the tunnel, then we proceed to the end of the tunnel. Right. This is part of the tunnel. Part of the tunnel here. As the captives walked through the tunnel from where the shrine is, a soldier stood here to instruct them to move.
Oh, right here.
Yes. Even though they were moving, they did not know where they were going to. The soldier stood here to instruct them to move. You can just stand here, look at it, then we continue.
But there is no more than that.
Faster, faster.
Okay, 531 years. This is part of the tunnel as well. Part of the tunnel. Another soldier stood there to supervise them as they move. It shuts up. It means sealed. It was sealed when the trade was abolished.
Oh, okay.
Part of the tunnel.
You ever been here before?
No, it's my first time.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of surreal.
Right. End of the tunnel here. End of the tunnel. Here was the final exit point. Final exit point. So they moved out this way. They joined the boats then to the ships. But then the waves of the sea used to come here. The waves of the sea was disturbing the business. So the officials themselves sealed it and then created a new exit point down there. So they were no longer moving through this direction. They moved out this way.
That went down.
Very good. Right. Let's visit the female punishment cell. Then from there we proceed to the female slave dungeon.
So that point over there, that was the previous point of no return at that point there?
Very good. Very good. Female punishment cell. You know, according to Abraham Maslow's theory of needs, sex is a basic need or a physiological need, and that each adult has to satisfy his or her sexual desire. But because the Europeans did not come along with their wives, they depended on the female captives for sex. But those female captives who resisted European sex were kept over here. They locked them up. Food and water was given to them through the small hole there. They created a small hole here in order for them to defecate here and also to urinate here, to serve as deterrent to others. So that next time if they request for sex, they will give it out.
Wow.
So one may ask, how many people were kept over here at the time? It depends on the number of people who refused at the time. Let's move to the two most later. Yes. It's interesting to know that they had two separate dungeons for the female captives. Two separate dungeons for the female captives. One here, one this way. Please, let's go this way. Right, my wonderful brothers and sisters, we are now in the female slave dungeon. But then it will surprise you to know that on average, 150 female captives were here with children, 150 were there with children, because I indicated that stubborn children in society were sold into slavery. So those stubborn children were here with the female captives. They were equally here for a minimum period of 2 weeks, a maximum period of 3 months waiting for shipment. My wonderful sisters, are you with me? During those days, there wasn't any sanitary pad. No sanitary pad. Menstruation happened here. No toilet roll. After defecating, that was all. There was an entrance here. The officials stood here and selected some of the beautiful African women, like my wonderful sisters here, and forced them for sexual services. You know, some of them got pregnant, and those who got pregnant were taken to town for special treatment. Sources indicate that doctors and nurses were there to take care of them, but then as they gave birth, their children were taken from them, they came back here to join their colleagues. The question is, what happened to the children? Now, you know, they gave birth to mulattoes and mulatresses that have caste, mixed races. Europeans used them to start castle schools. So formal education in the country started from Cape Coast Castle and then Elmina Castle. Those children later on became educated and late in society. Some equally joined their parents in the plantations. to serve as supervisors. Those children were given European names such as Johnson, Smith, Ferguson, Thompson, Johnson, Davidson, and all the Simpsons. So you realize that these names are very common, especially in the coastal areas of Ghana. This is to tell us that we still have the descendants of the mulattoes and the mulattresses in the country. Source of light and ventilation. Let me go. Right. I want to forget door of no return. It's interesting to know that the original door of no return was very short and narrow, so that one person could pass through at a time. But then later on, it was enlarged because this place became the seat of the governor. Now in Ghana, here, Cape Coast was the capital town. But then the seat of the governor was relocated to Accra around 1877 because of political agitation in the country. So Africa's human resources, big men and women in Africa, farmers, masons, intellectuals, herbalists, scientists, people of high classes in society could have helped develop Africa, were taken to the New World to work so hard to help develop the New World, to help shape the culture of the New World. At the initial stage, they were working in the sugarcane plantation, but then along the line, they established tobacco plantation, coffee, rice, cocoa, among others. Some were used in the mining sector. They needed African women because they needed the women to reproduce in order for them to get more Africans to work so hard to develop the New World. Today, America is developed. There are jobs in America. Almost every Ghanaian wants to go to America because the standard of living in America is far better than that of Ghana, and that's what some of us perceive. It is as a result of the sweat of our forefathers that is why America is developing. And so as individuals, we equally have to work so hard in order for generations yet to come and benefit from whatever we are doing today in the US. But then as our forefathers used the door of no return, they were not expected to come back to Africa. They lose their identity. The properties they had in Africa, they lose everything. Family members they had in Africa, they lose them. Beautiful African names such as John, Kojo, Kwame, Fifi, Mamiama, Mamiesi, Ajele, Na, and what have they lose everything. We are using the same door of no return, but you are assured that we shall return.
Desmond, we should have walked in here first. That's how we should have come in. And when we started our tour, we should have come through this door.
Yeah.
This is the door I should have come in when I first got to Ghana.
Right. I want to forget, as our forefathers used the door of no return, the officials used the staircase over here. As they were going, they used the same staircase as they were coming, the same staircase. So
The same one?
Staircase, yes.
The same one. Wow.
So here was arrival and departure hall. There was a very thick wall separating this part of the shore from the rest of the sea. You could see part of the wall over there, the broken wall over there. Just to avoid the locals around from knowing whatever was happening here. So this part of the shore was called White Man's Beach. White Man's Beach. Abofumpan. I indicated that the ships could not come to this part of the shore because this part is rocky. So they used smaller boats like these ones, convey them and then transfer them into the ships. The ships were about 600 meters away from here. They were packed like sardines. I hope you all know sardines. But when you go to the bookshop, how books are being packed, they were packed just like that. And as they died in their numbers. But then those who died in the ships were removed from the ships and were thrown into the sea for the fishes in the sea to eat them up. Those who were found sick and weak were removed from the ships and were thrown into the sea because they needed stronger men and women who could help to develop the new world. Those who were found pregnant were removed from the ships and were thrown into the sea because nobody was a pregnant woman. Sources indicate that some of them equally forced themselves out into the sea because they believed that if they died in Africa, their souls remain in Africa. They spent about a month to 3 before getting to their destination, depending on the direction of the wind, the weather, and also the destination. In 1998, Ghana celebrated the first Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, to commemorate the end of slave trade. The occasion was dubbed the Great Homecoming. During that celebration, 2 ex-slaves were exhumed from their graves and were brought back to the castle. They were exhumed from Jamaica and then New York. Madam Crystal from Jamaica, Samuel Carson from New York. Through airplane, their family members brought them to the International Airport. They were accompanied by government officials. Through the land, they got to a community called Abanze. Then through the ocean, they came back to the castle through this same door. Here in the castle, a ceremony was performed. After that ceremony, they were taken back to Asin Mansur, where they took their last African bath for reburial. But then their homecoming is very symbolic. It is telling us that when we travel outside our homeland, we should not forget our homeland. We have to go back to our roots. So my sister, I hope after your activities in Ghana, you go back to wherever you came from. Beautiful. Beautiful. So door of no return has been reversed to door of return, just as you can see up there. So let's return now. All right. On behalf of the President of the Republic of Ghana, the National House of Chiefs, Regional House of Chiefs, the management of this institution, and on my own behalf, I welcome you back into the castle. So, Apollo. Washroom for the officials, washroom, and accommodation for the officials. Second floor, in accommodation for the officials.
Are we going to see any of those accommodations?
The rooms down here were used as storerooms or warehouses where European goods, being gunpowder, snuff, tobacco, and other commodities that were used for the exchange of the Africa's human resources were kept. Also, the gold, the ivory, and the spices that they bought were kept over here before shipment. We're now going to the condemned cell. Condemned cell. Right, my wonderful brothers and sisters, it will interest you to know that Cape Coast Castle is 348 years old. But then this is the only original door left in this castle, the only original door left. It's made of metal and wood. Metal here, wood here. It's a cell, but not any ordinary cell, but then a condemned cell. Please, we are entering, but watch your heads. Otherwise, you will carry the castle to wherever you came from.
Thank you.
Yeah. More of that material on the floor. Oh, I can't see.
Lights.
No lights in here.
No lights. They didn't have lights. They didn't have lights.
Oh, take walls. I don't think the lights will even work.
You get lost.
Yeah. You'll see me in chains next to Francis.
Come in.
Come on. You can return. They won't keep you.
Oh, yay. No. Oh.
and wonderful guests. It is surprising to know that on average, 70 captives were here at the time. 70 here at the time. You know, some of the captives saw themselves as kings, priests, princes, people of high classes in society, and that they don't deserve to be in such inhuman treatment. So some made an attempt of escaping. Some made an attempt of fighting for their freedom. So those who made such an attempt were caught and were condemned over here. He had no water, no air, no food, no light. Through suffocation and starvation, they all died. But then as they died, they were packed in sacks and were thrown into the Atlantic Ocean for the fishes in the ocean to eat them up. Now the cell had 3 doors. Two have been removed, only one left. And even with the one left, look at the heat in here. This is to tell us that our forefathers went through ordeal. They went through pains and difficulties before dying. And we all pray that may the souls of our forefathers rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Amen.
Please wash your head. I'm so much concerned about your head.
Wow. Thanks.
Right. We bless God we've been able to survive the condemnation. We're now going to the Palava Hall, the market where buying and selling of the captives took place. So let's go by the staircase here.
Are you okay, Nathan?
Yeah, just hungry and tired.
Ah, hungry and tired. Well, at least you can leave when you want.